Welcome to Rugby. I'm here on Free Spots. I'm Alex Simmons, joined once again by my partner in crime, Jamie Jones Buchanan. Jonesy, how's your week been?
Been all right. Been busy actually. I find myself less able to. I don't know why, but I don't know if it's because I've stopped training. I've got less endorphins buzzing around my brain. I just feel like I lack a sharpness at the minute, funnily enough. But I've got new challenges as well. I'm constantly out of my comfort zone, which I've always said is a good thing. When I go into schools and talk to young kids, especially businesses, whatever, I always say getting out of your comfort zone is the best way to grow. So I'm growing. I'm probably going through a growing process, though it's not very pleasant at times. But that's what it's all about, isn't it, Woody? Like, I know you're into that sort of psychology type stuff and performance and the rest of it, and you've been through a little bit yourself. So how have you been in recent weeks?
Yeah, mate. I've been good. I think, touching on what you said there, I think it's called getting old.
Yeah.
we don't want to admit that we're not 21 anymore, and we're getting to that stage in our lives where we do start slowing down a little bit, and we can't do the things we could when we were 21, and still frustrates the life out of me. But I've got to physically keep training. If I do that, it keeps me in a good place. So.
Woody, you look massive, mate. You look hench. You came through the door. The farmer's your nickname, but you look like a farmer. What have you been doing?
Well, it went dark when I come in, didn't it? It's that big. No, to be honest, mate, I've lost a little bit of weight. I ballooned up. I went massive. I was like 118 kilo, which is unheard of. I was about 103 kilo when I played, and I've lost about 5k. Well, I've been doing a lot of strongman training in a local gym in Wigan. A friend of mine.
Give a shout out.
Shane Sutton, Goliath strongman training. So
nice.
I've been going there, and it's been good. There's a small group of lads, and we do deadlift Fridays. We lift Atlas stones on Saturdays. We do farmers walks. It's just really good buzzing. Bit of camaraderie there as well, which is always nice.
That core strength, mate, is probably the last thing to leave you. Now we're obviously getting to that sort of 40-year-old mark. Aerobically, you let that go, don't you? But
yeah.
Do you find yourself still performing similar to what you did in your 20s with strongman stuff?
Do you know what? My bench press and my deadlift's a little bit down at the moment, and my PB on an Atlas stone is 130 kilo. Now I nearly lifted it on Saturday, so I'm not quite where I want to be.
Yep.
But I've set myself new targets because I want to be stronger at 40. I'm 39 next week. I want to be stronger at 40 than I was when I was 21. So I'm going to really push myself to become as strong as I possibly can. Because have you ever heard of Simmons, West Side Barbell?
Lewis.
Yeah, Simmons, yeah. It might be related, but a guy in America, and ferocious really with his training, and he sort of just pushes and pushes, and he's in his 60s now.
Wow.
But he's sort of like that never say die attitude. There's a great documentary called West Side versus the World. If you're into your powerlifting and your gym training, it's very motivational, and some great characters on it.
Getting in the gym, throwing a few weights around. Are you missing it, Jonesy?
Well, I always thought when I retired I'd just do weights. Thought it's something you can control, and I think it's always good. It's like an alpha thing, innit? You want to be strong. And the complete opposite's happened. I'm running about 30 miles a week, and I could never run as a player because my knees would blow up, but I'm doing it on concrete and my knees have never been better. And so I'm sort of asking myself the question, how fit and strong do I need to be, on a daily basis? I just want to be really healthy, and actually the most gratifying part of it is spending time with my wife, because we both run together and doing a lot of the challenges for MND and all kinds of different charities. So I am enjoying my training, but I do have a target weight. I want to get to about 90, 91 kilos, and then I'm going to start doing weights again and concentrate on a bit of core strength.
Have you been involved with the game much? Because I know you left the game on your terms. You've been doing your podcasts. You did the stuff with Mickey Iam, and now it's the One Ball podcast, is that right?
Oddball, show, yeah.
The Oddball podcast. So how was your connection with Rugby League? Are you missing the game? Are you liking the game? How are you finding lockdown? Where are you at with rugby?
Yeah, I mean, being involved in a professional aspect, the coaching side wasn't for me. Just didn't have the level of dedication that it needed, really. So I stepped away from it. In terms of being involved in Rugby League, I coach a local amateur team, Ashton Bears, at the moment, who are based in Wigan. And I do hospitality for the Warrington Wolves, so I walk round the boxes, interview players and stuff. I take my lad down, he's a massive Warrington fan, my lad. So I take him down, he watches the game, and then I do the hospitality. But yeah, no, I don't, I served my purpose in Rugby League, 20 years, 17 years as a player, 3 years in coaching, and I just needed a complete change, and one of the best things I've ever done, really. There's aspects of rugby league that I miss. I miss the lifestyle. I definitely miss the lifestyle and the banter with the lads and stuff, and clocking off at 1, 2 o'clock, going having a Costa coffee, standard Nando's, and then going home. And I miss that element of it, but there's not much more I miss, really. It's an easy life, really. You look back when you're doing it at the time, there's a lot of stresses and pressures, and you put yourself under a lot of pressure because you've got to keep your position. But yeah, it's more the lifestyle that I miss. And at the time, I thought it was a really hard way to earn a living, but now I'm in the real world. This is harder.
you went to some pretty dark places during your career, and you suffered with a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. Does that still haunt you? Does it still affect you, or do you cope with it better now?
Oh no, you learn from your life experiences. I mean, one thing I've learned about myself is that throughout my life I've always tried to be a perfectionist, and I've always been unrealistic with targets. And I've pushed myself, and I've put myself under unnecessary pressure as well. So I've learned a lot of lessons throughout life, and I think the people who are around me now probably say I'm a bit laid back. Don't get me wrong, I still have my moments where I want to, go full on into something, and I try and achieve this unachievable expectation. But I can sort of notice it about myself. But yeah, I mean, like saying there, during my career at times, I probably didn't help myself mentally by some of the, I don't know, call it self-sabotage or self-talk that I was giving to myself. Certainly didn't help me.
We all know the power of self-talk and creating affirmations and imagining an outcome in your mind so that it manifests itself in reality down the line. We've got to go through a process to prepare. It's funny, catching up with part 2 of an interview with John Wilkin a little bit later on. But when I spoke to John, one of the things I talked to him about was missing the accountability every Monday morning. So when you go in to do your review, you're accountable for what you did on the weekend the week before. And I really miss that feedback. Still get feedback, but it's not as a regular basis. So I asked John how he dealt with it, and I'm probably paraphrasing, but he basically said that he gives himself that feedback. And I really liked it because he's probably more critical on himself than everybody else would be. The problem with that is I'm ruthless with myself, and you talked about you're always expecting perfection, so anything less than that, you feel, wow, I've let myself down here. So how did you deal with that, or bring the bar down, especially now that it's not external feedback, it's internal? How do you manage that?
I think for me, I was always looking at the bigger picture, and instead of like breaking my goals down and sort of giving myself something that I can achieve, and then sort of just chipping away at something. But I've got a good friend of mine who I speak to on a regular basis, 60 years of age, this guy who I speak to, he's a lot more life experience than me. And I remember having a conversation about exactly what you've just been speaking about, accountability, and saying, I'm used to getting feedback every single week and people telling me I'm doing something right, I'm doing something wrong. And he said, have you ever thought about, telling yourself that you're doing something well, or telling yourself if you don't feel like you're doing something right? Because he said, if you can look at yourself in the mirror and give yourself honest feedback, it's a great quality to have. So I went through that stage where, away from rugby, completely different environment, where Monday morning I'd be sat there, or during the week I'd be expecting my boss to come in and say, you've not done this, you've not done that, or you're doing this really well, and it just wasn't coming. And I just didn't know how to handle that. Because I didn't know whether I was doing something right or wrong, you know what I mean? And I want to do well. So if I'm not getting that feedback, I'm like, well, what's going on here? What do I need to improve on? What's my strengths? What are my weaknesses? So I just had to learn that, some of it I've got to figure out myself.
How much have you learned from some of the personalities you've had on your podcast? Because I listened to one with Johnny Wilkinson recently, and it blew me away. What did you make of it? Because I listened to it. I thought it was bizarre. I'll be honest with you. It was so far away from what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
And it was with Damien Hughes, who I think did a little bit of work at Warrington. I know he was a friend of Tony Smith, bit of sort of sports psychology. But you've had some pretty special guests, Ryan Giggs being one of them. What have you learned from some of your guests on your podcast?
One of the things that really stands out with a lot of people, and it's stuff that I try to touch on really, is that how people have failed and sort of got the resilience to keep bouncing back.
Yeah.
That's one of the major things that I like to touch on, and it's what I really find really good about the podcast is that when the characters come out is that they're really honest and they say, I've struggled with this area in my life, and this is a period where I needed, I was struggling mentally, it could be physically, but they had to bounce back, they had to find the strength to get through that adversity and to reach the goals. And I had Robbie Hunter-Paul on last week, and Robbie touched on how he struggled when he was the CEO at Bradford because he couldn't handle the pressure of telling people there was no money to pay the wages, there was no job for them, and it was just to look at Robbie on the BBC, and the way that he played on the pitch, it comes across as a very confident person, and that he's the last person who would have struggled with that. But the honesty and the openness that he had, I just felt was. It was just really refreshing to hear it in an interview.
Since we've started Rugby, we've had literally thousands and thousands of players on these sofas, on podcasts, all different types of people. And the one bloke who is completely unique is Tom Lynham. I've never met anyone like him, ever, in the whole journey of Rugby. And I watched the show last week, and I hadn't seen the Bedtime Stories. And it is bizarre, but I loved it. It was the story of Wigan in the 1998 Challenge Cup final, and it were amazing. So well done, Jonesy. And it was like a bit of crazy genius. And it reminded me when we first started out, when you just get something completely random. Yeah. I just thought, take me back to the madness of Rugby when it was just mental.
Yeah, I noticed it last week. Something I've really found out about myself is I've always enjoyed creativity, but I couldn't paint a picture, I couldn't sing a song, but I can see it in other people and I enjoy stitching that together. So like we said last week, it's an accumulation of 4 or 5 different people all put into one. Yeah. So then you create something that nobody else has ever created before, and it's unique, innit? And, and it is good, so I'm glad we've got another instalment this week.
Well, let's check it out right now. The main man that is Tom Lynham telling his bedtime stories.
Hi, I'm Tommy Lynham, and here is this week's bedtime story. A bull, a rhino, and a Sierra. In a far away place sits a zoo, the size of Yorkshire, and in this zoo lives a bull, amongst many others just like him, in a field of beautiful foliage. The bull enjoys every single day grazing in the sun as the sweet essence of fresh grass fills the air. One specific day, all this changed. On the opposite side of the enclosure, something seemed slightly awry. A group of strange creatures arrived, one in particular causing a slight irritance to the bull. Being not of the same colour, not of the same look, a long, sharp, tooth-like bone stood at the top of its head. "I don't like that," the bull said to himself. He turned to the other bulls. "He looks a little odd. There's something about him I don't quite like." The rhino seemed to share the bull's distaste. No rhyme or reason. Every time they passed each other, they would snarl through the fencing, protecting their pastures and their friends. On a cold spring morning, in the fresh scented grass, the bull saw a strange sight approaching in the distance. Something he had not seen before. A Ford Sierra. The bull became intrigued and excited, but a tad hesitant of the mystery vehicle. Out of the driver's side stepped the rhino, all alone and not a comrade in sight. As their eyes meet, it almost becomes an epic western standoff. Eyes as daggers pointing at one another's direction, the rhino approached the bull, who became cautious and tentative. "What are you doing here?" the bull asked. "I've been asked to move here for the zookeepers." Shocked and in dismay, the bull shook his head, turning his back on his new neighbour. The bull had now distanced himself from the rest of the cattle, gazing into the beautiful blue sky above as he tossed his rugby ball into the air, trying his best to enjoy his favourite pastime all alone. he heard the sound of footsteps approaching from behind. He turned to see the rhino stood 2 meters away from him. "What do you want?" barked the bull. "Chuck us the ball," countered the rhino. The bull was surprised by the rhino's response. He took a moment before he threw the ball to the rhino. "Have you ever played before?" quizzed the bull. "It's my favourite game to play," he answered. This brought a smile to the face of the bull as the pair tossed the egg-shaped pigskin back and forth. The bull held the ball for a moment before declaring, "Guess we're not that different after all."
Another fantastic instalment of Bedtime Stories. It's wonderfully bizarre.
Yeah, I'm interested in what everybody thinks, actually.
Let us know. Tweet us at Rugby. We're back on Twitter.
Yeah.
Tweet us at Rugby. Outstanding.
There's another bizarre story for you. For another day. Maybe we'll make a bedtime story about it.
Yeah, let's do that. The games this weekend, let's really quickly run through them because I know it's Wednesday and people have seen them last weekend. But big shout out to Luke Robinson, 2-2 as head coach of the Giants. Did you ever see Robbo as head coach?
Yeah, he works really hard, mate. I've seen him obviously at sidelines for a few years now, and I've been on coaching courses with him in past and other little bits, and he loves it. And mate, it's funny actually seeing him and Andy Lass now coaching, same age as me. Robbo's younger than I am.
Yeah.
And you sort of think about where I'm at and what I've got to learn, and the fact that they're fully fledged doing it every day, full time, top dog. So credit to both of them. It's a tough job.
It's because you replayed for 20 years.
Yeah,
that's why.
I probably played 10 years longer than I should have done, buddy. But who cares? It's going to wait. But no, well done to him. He's certainly got a response. Woody, would you like to see him stay there permanently, full time?
Yeah, I would do, but would it be the best decision for him? Probably not, because it's. You know what sport's like, it's cutthroat. He only needs to go on a bit of a losing streak and then it can dent your career massively. So I think, like for Luke, I'm sure he'd like to get a good mentor who he could work under. I'm sure Simon Wolford has been really good for him, but if he could get someone to work under for another couple of years and then step into that position, I think it'd be a great opportunity for him. And I've played with Luke at England, and I know he has got a smart rugby brain and he loves the game. He's coached a lot down Siddle, so he's sort of been serving his time as a player as well. So he's I hope he has a good career in coaching.
Woody, Warrington, your old team, top of the league. Looking good this year.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're looking really good.
Could it be their year?
Well, I know it could be. I mean, Liverpool won the Premiership, so I compare Warrington to sort of the Liverpool of rugby league. Really, it's always their year. They're going to win it. But looking at the fixtures and what I've seen, I think Warrington are looking like the top team at the minute. But it's. We all know, form can change very, very quick in rugby league. And
you've been impressed with Mike Cooper as a player.
Mike Cooper for me has been like Warrington's standout player. Yeah, I like Coops. He was coming through the system, and he made the first team when I was there, and I enjoyed playing with him because he's a tough, uncompromising forward. I think going to the NRL for him was massive. It just suited his game as well. The NRL suited him better than Super League at the time, but I think he just developed leaps and bounds. And for me, I mean, I know he's not been called in the initial Great Britain squad, which for me is a shock because, I do think he's Warrington's best forward by a country mile at the minute. And if they was to lose him, I think, they would struggle. They would struggle.
That's quality, but last time I saw you was when you sat at Reds and you lost the ability to speak from the Hot Wing Challenge. You did talk it up. You thought you could go in there and defeat Jonesy, he'd done it, Wag had done it, and it had you. It had your life, mate.
Yeah, it was. I like me hot food. I do. Curry's my favourite meal. If I'm going for takeaway. But that was, it was ridiculous. I mean, he mentally got me when he said put the blue gloves on. Once you're wearing gloves to eat food, it's not for human consumption really, is it?
Yeah, I love curries and I'm not happy unless my nose is running. And I'm 6 million Scovilles or something now.
So Woody's one was like something like 2 million Scovilles. Then the week after they come to the studio and did one 3 times as strong that Jonesy defeated him. And Breeze is young and had a bit. Then I put some in my eye. Yeah. It were awful.
No, it was messy. But I thought it's only a mental. It's just like a bit of pain, isn't it? Like, but you've got to get. But it was horrendous. I just remember it like a fog descending on studio, and I honestly thought there's something wrong here. And the bellyache, I had some bad bellyache that even never again, mate.
I just remember sat there just thinking, what's if this pain doesn't go? What's if it doesn't go and it's with me forever? Because that's what it felt like. It was literally going to stay with me forever. I couldn't comprehend what normal felt like. So it was, I was a bit anxious at that point.
Let's go back now in time and check out hot wings from the vault.
These are our smoked wings. We've got 10 of them. We've done our little hot sauce. I've also thrown some nice jalapenos in there for flavour, and then you've got a nice garnish of some spring onions just to kind of balance out those rather spicy flavours.
There's two things I've noticed. You're sweating, and all you've done is carried them in.
My face is on fire!
And you shouldn't have to wear these gloves to eat food.
No, and
that
you
is
shouldn't have
not
to wear
normal.
a mask either to make it. So.
Right, let's crack on then. Let's crack on.
Okay, Red's True Barbecue Challenge. Bring it on.
You can't finish that. You can't.
You got 5 minutes.
I always get hiccups when I eat spicy things. Oh. Worst thing I've ever been through is losing a testicle. But now I've changed my opinion. This is the worst thing ever.
This is warm. Actually quite nice. Flavours are good. But my mouth's on fire. I can't speak. I can't speak. Takes a lot to shut me up, but that's done me. I'm in pain, honestly. Mouth's gone. Serious stuff, that. Cheers, Scott. I think.
Of course I'm doing one. Yeah, one bite.
Keep going, lad.
Keep going. Another bite. Get another bite.
Hiccup started. I don't know what the reaction is.
I think it's
One bite.
Are you deep in the room? No, thank God.
Man.
You're always going to make a fuss.
Wait, because I need to get some film.
That was one of the worst pains of my life. I hope you enjoyed it as much as these enjoyed laughing at me. But anyway, stay tuned right here on Free Sports. We're back for more Rugby in part 2. John Wilkin meets JJB and much more.